It's Riley, Juliana, and no teleprompters. We're going to talk a little bit about Ernest Hemingway. Mm-hmm. So we're going to start with Francis McCumber.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds good. Okay. So what's it all about?
Basically, it's about this couple. So it's about Margot and Francis, and basically they get together and they're like married, and they go on this like safari in Africa, basically to go like hunt exotic animals. And it's really interesting because you have this other character, basically the tour guide of like this place whose name is Wilson, and he comes in and you think he's like the nice guy of the story, basically like, oh, like he's harmless, he's just this like guy who's like gonna help them and like help them learn how to do this. And I felt kind of you want to feel sorry for him at times, which is interesting because he's kind of actually the villain of the story, but it's like hidden, and Hemingway does a really good job of that because he like basically creates this whole scenario where like he's like almost like you're supposed to pity him because he's like, oh, I just like do whatever I do for the money, like women usually want to sleep with me, and like I do it so I get paid, and like I don't know why they can't just stay in their room, and like all this kind of stuff. And you just kind of think that he's like not the bad guy, but you kind of see like as the voice goes in, like Francis is very like kind of confident in the beginning of like the story, like, oh, she won't leave me, I'm too rich, and like I won't leave her because she's too pretty. And then this other guy comes in, and he definitely feels threatened, and he really wants to act even more manly than he already did because he was kind of going on this trip to like impress his wife. And like I'm super manly, I can kill like lions and tigers, and so sad. And so basically they first thing is that there's this lion, and he shoots it, and it doesn't like, it just describes like really gruesomely like the pain that this animal's going in. He's like foaming at the mouth, and he runs away, and they like run after it to kill it, and the lion gets mad and he charges them, and Francis gets scared and he runs away, and then Wilson kills the lion. And in that moment he gets kind of like, I mean, self-conscious, and like doesn't feel as manly anymore, and like especially because his wife is like, oh my god, like you like just ran away from that lion, like you're so cowardly and like not a man. And Wilson obviously killed it, so she's obviously into that. And it also goes into, which is really interesting, just like the perspective of the lion, which most stories don't go into the perspective of the animal because that's really hard because they have a different brain than us, even though they're like beings and like think and like, I mean, obviously have opinions and like would have a perspective on something like this happening. But like it was interesting for me to read it because it's interesting to have a person try and like relate to that different level that they are never going to be able to be on, which I thought was really cool. And basically as the story goes on, then the wife basically that night goes and sleeps with Wilson, and then comes back and is like with Francis. Well, Francis is actually in the tent and like hearing it, which is, oh my god, just a lot. This whole story was just a lot. There's a lot of tension and really sad. And so then the next day he goes to kind of kill this buffalo, and he shoots it. It doesn't die, and it's like jumping in the air and like freaking out, and like obviously scared and worried. And it was funny because I kind of thought that Francis and this animal were like very similar, because I felt like throughout the whole story, basically Francis was acting like he was shot in the leg and like was just scared and confused and helpless and didn't know what to do, and was like just like making irrational decisions and just kind of jumping and going because like he didn't really know how to act in the situation, basically. And then I think, so he kills the buffalo basically, and then Margot gets like kind of starts feeling subconscious and is like, you know what, now that he has like his pride back and he's feeling more confident, maybe now he'll leave me. And then she's trying to shoot at, I think it's still at the buffalo, and ends up shooting him in the head. Because he actually shot it from the car, which you're not supposed to do, and then he didn't die, so then he got out of the car, and then he went to go shoot it again, and then she was like, let me do it, and shot it.
Shot him.
After he'd already like shot it, so I was confused right there. It's like, who really killed it? I think he killed it, and because she was like, wow, he's gonna get his pride back, and he's gonna leave me. But I think subconsciously she did kill him. And I mean, even if she wasn't necessarily like trying to kill him in that moment, like it was like, I'm gonna shoot my husband, but like I think in her subconscious she like missed on purpose, kind of. And yeah, and then basically Wilson comes up and is like annoyed with her. And it's like, oh my god, like you just tried to kill your husband, like you just murdered him, like great job. Which I mean in some ways is kind of a natural way to go about like what you'd ask that kind of person, because he's been seeing, all you see is this part of their relationship which has been rocky this whole time, and like you see her just getting more and more fed up with him and more done and feeling more trapped in the relationship. And so I see what he's doing, but also like in a lot of ways Wilson killed him. Just shot the whole story about, you know, not helping the relationship, making him feel more self-conscious, not helping him, trying to be more manly, putting him out with these guns and just letting him shoot randomly, doing the wrong thing, and just like kind of sleeping with his wife and just all that kind of stuff. Basically.
Right.
Oh, and then he's like, Wilson's like, I know how to make this look like an accident, and then the story ends. And I was just like, oh my god, I hate this. What even?
Totally. And are there any parts in the story that shine out in greater detail that you want to add? Moments.
Like I said, I just thought it was really cool that they had an animal's perspective in that. Even though it was really sad and like scary, it was like really cool because I don't know, I just don't think anybody really tries to like dapple with that idea, because it's like it's hard as anyone to like speak about things that you can't relate to fully. Like people do it with race and everything, and you get called a lot of things, and it's like kind of just like a sketchy place in writing for anyone when you just try to go into someone else's perspective of a life that you don't live and something that you don't really know, and you're trying to do your best to like just make the reader experience it and make it feel like you actually did experience it. So I thought that was really cool that he did that, and I think it's always really cool to see other people just try and do that with every different kind of thing, because no person, no animal, nothing's like alike in that way, so it's weird to try and just get into someone else's life, which is what writers do all the time. So I thought that was cool.
Nice. And what would be like a connection to your life, or you know, sort of the larger takeaway from the story?
I think that anyone can relate to kind of, Frances and Margot both go through this moment where like they're either really confident and then they're really feeling self-conscious, and like it's like a very back and forth, like, oh, I'm here, and then like I break down completely down there. I think everybody can relate to that, especially like in the trying to impress people, and like you're just like, you're kind of just acting like someone who's been shot in the foot because you don't really know what you're doing, and you're just like, oh my god, like I need to impress people, I need to like seem cooler, be cooler, like try to go about that. And that's such a weird thing that humans think they need to do, which I think is really funny, because nobody, like, for the most part, I mean, until you just like accept it, can really like just sit there and be like, okay, I'm cool with just being myself fully right now. And it's weird that human beings just go straight to like the, okay, I need to act different, I need to impress people, I need to like try to be more than I am, because that's like not enough. But I thought it was interesting. Also just reminded me of why I was a vegetarian. I just read that and I was like, oh my god, why did I read this? This is so sad, I cannot. Yeah, that's it.
Cool. Is there anything else you want to add about this story?
No, I think I'm good.
Awesome. We'll stop there. See you soon, Rob.